See, now we all know. Okay. I guess the first thing is now that Natasha is introduced and she's the first person who hasn't been to a meeting. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else that that is unknown to the rest, or are we all? Fatima is from Hudson River Housing. She seems to be replacing Javier, but I think she represents a different department. So we're happy to have her here. So I will, oh, one other thing, I'm sorry. The people in Millerton, Sam Bussell, have been talking to Tom McGrath from the Community Preservation Corp. And that also seems to be a source for funding and expertise for affordable housing. So it's nice that after doing this for 2 years, we're finally getting some of these, getting information on some of these resources. The next thing I had on the agenda is the housing survey. So it was presented to the town board May 20th. And unfortunately, Damien was out of town. So Vicki and I had to kind of fumble our way through it. But we did manage to remove the duplicates and add in the paper copies, of which there were very few. There were only 12 people who chose to fill in paper survey forms as opposed to everyone else doing it online. We only got, even after extending the deadline a few weeks, we only got 3 responses in Spanish, which was also really a little bit personally heartbreaking. But we ended up with 180, I think about 180 clean surveys out of the population of Amenia, which is 4,400. And I guess we sent it the postcard mailing to like 2,000. So it's almost 10%. And we got, you know, some interesting information, even in terms of how the population that answered the survey skewed, was kind of interesting. And we have, at this point, what we need to do is just to kind of input it into the format. Earlier on, you saw a visual where there are pie charts and stuff, and we just need to update that next. Damien has a friend who's a statistician, and we just want to make sure that the way that we kind of recorded the text, the not multiple choice questions where people were writing stuff, that we're doing that to a certain standard. And and I don't know if you want to add anything, Damien, but the next thing I wanted to talk about was just how we would use it.
Yeah, I reached out to Mike, and I got your email that you copied Mike on, Leo. Sorry I didn't respond directly, but I did reach out to Mike just about what his schedule looks like. Okay. He said he does have time this week.
Okay.
To help us, and just, you know, for the group, his function would be to provide some analysis, both a general like sentiment analysis, but then also some indication of how confident we can be as a group that what we heard back in this, you know, in survey responses that we did receive are kind of indicative of the greater population of the town of Amenia. So he's around this week, Leo. I don't know what your schedule is like, or
I'm around this week. So
yeah.
All right, so we can talk about it. That would be great. Good. One of the funny things in the survey, well, funny to me, was just the number of people that listed concern for crime as an issue in terms of selecting a new house, which I thought in Amenia is a little comic because, you know, usually the crime in Amenia is incest, but whatever. So what I wanted to say is I think we need to talk about how we distribute this, and Damien and Vicki may have some opinions on this too, but I think that we certainly want to present this to the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals. I think that they should know what we found out. I think that we should think about having it on the town website. And then maybe beyond that, the Millerton News, and ideally the Tri-Town Coalition is kind of curious about what we've learned. So I think that once we have the document finished and polished, we've taken out all the identifying information. So I hope that we can then share that, but I wanted to see if people had ideas as to where we go from here. Any thoughts? Well, I can see you're all breathing, so that's a good thing. What, Damien?
One thing I would suggest,
Oh, Nathan.
since the survey itself was posted on the town website, that to post the results on it, I think would be certainly an appropriate choice to share results.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that there were fewer negative responses than I would have expected, significantly fewer. There were a few people who said, you know, the government should stay out of housing and stuff like that. But I mean, aside from some sort of vaguely political stuff like that, most people seem to really understand the need that's out there, and I thought that was encouraging. It was like, you know, it was like 10 to 1 almost, in terms of a kind of a positive response, which I found, you know, shocking and pleasing. So that means we're at least, you know, some fraction of the way towards convincing people that this is a benefit for them. Anything else on the survey? Any other thoughts? All right. The next thing is the listening session. We had said a long time ago that once we completed the survey, that we would also present it to the town and have a kind of a public forum to discuss the survey and to discuss the issue of a need for housing in general. Basically as a kind of an introduction and education to the town, but also to get a sense of what concerns people had. So we've talked about this. The survey got a little delayed because I extended it, but you know, we're fairly close to having the final numbers, and I wanted to see whether anyone had thoughts about when or how soon this should happen. I think we have to do certain things before. I think we have to get a facilitator. I think we have to have some kind of a visual presentation put together. And I think we're going to have to do outreach to potential attendees. We got actually 90 contacts via the survey. So like half the people that responded to the survey gave us their information when we said that we were going to have a follow-up meeting. So that's a good start. And I think we can do all that. I just wondered about timing, if anyone had any feeling either about best time of day or, best day of the week or best time to do it, but also in terms of when in the next few months we might think about having it. Stacy, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I'm thinking since the school term's almost over and people are getting into their summer vacation mode,
Yeah.
especially after being hibernating for a while, most people go away in August. So I'm thinking like right, you know, maybe the weekend after Labor Day weekend. It won't be so hot. Maybe it'll be a little cooler and people will be back in the swing of things. They'll be in town. I would just say skip July and most of August.
Any?
I can support with outreach, but my estimate would be people are going to be away. We want to make sure outreach happens when folks are back home.
I'm sorry, the outreach should be now or before they get back home? I wasn't sure I heard that.
Well, closer to the time that the event will happen.
Okay.
But, you know, given like a week before that, so I'd say like mid-September or the third week of September.
Okay. I had, you know, I when I thought about the schedule, part of it was with the expectation that that we would be somewhat further along in terms of having a development idea. And unfortunately, we don't. I mean, we had a meeting with the real estate people at Hudson River Housing 3 weeks ago, and it was actually very positive, but I haven't been able to get a response from them since to the stuff we discussed in terms of sites and you know, what might be developable and that sort of stuff. So I'm kind of frustrated with that, but delaying till the fall may help with that problem. I hope that if we wait a bit longer that we may actually have something, you know, not necessarily to announce, but at least there's something on the horizon in terms of possibility. I'm kind of a little bit nervous about having this listening session and giving people the expectation that something's ready to go when we don't even have an idea yet, or at least any kind of project. I mean, I don't know if there'll be a project proposal, but it would be nice if we had a start of something. I think it would look a lot better when we present. Are other people comfortable with the fall, with doing it in September? I'm seeing nodding. Okay, that's good. Anyone have a problem with that? Okay, I'm going to suggest we do the fall then.
It sounded like there were most people who were in support of affordable housing, but wondering if we could take an opportunity while, you know, the work happens in the development area about just having information on affordable housing, what that means, why it's important to have it in a community. I'm finding that here in the city of Poughkeepsie, for example, you know, affordable housing has been a hot topic recently and has really been important to engage more with community. So it may be an opportunity, you know, up in the Northeast to have those same conversations.
In Millerton, they are putting together a committee of supporters. They're actually training people to be able to speak effectively about affordable housing and the need and what that means, which would be lovely. I think, Nathan, that there was a proposal to get a grant to help do that, which would be great if that comes in soon, because it would mean that we could actually get some people trained before September. Does that look likely?
Yeah, honestly, I don't. It's actually through HRH. Elizabeth was the
Oh
lead
my
on that
God.
for HRH. No, that's quite right. But yes, the idea is that, at least in part, that if it does come through, that it'll help support the idea of training housing ambassadors to be able to speak meaningfully and purposely, and listen meaningfully and purposefully on this topic as well. So, if the time frame would certainly be helpful in trying to have some synergy between that, if it does come through.
Yeah, I mean, that would be really great. I mean, I think that in terms of the trainings, if there was a kind of a strategy for that, so that we weren't kind of inventing it. I mean, I'm sure that there are resources that we could speak to. You know, Dutchess County Planning would be one, but Pattern
Yep,
for Progress.
Is also with in conjunction with the RPA and the work that they did with
Right,
Fairfield
RPA.
County and the yep, sure, absolutely, and the very carefully calibrated approach that they took to fostering a conversation rather than not. It has been pretty successful there, and working and speaking with a representative from RPA. That would be ultimately one of the entities that would be reached out to if the grant does come through, to be able to help set up the program for the training of the ambassadors.
Could you just sort of find out, Nathan, what's going on with that? I mean, I don't know if there's a specific date that we would find out about the grant, but if you could get some sense of like when we're likely to hear about that, and then how long it would be from that point to actually,
yeah, based on our last TTC steering committee meeting, Elizabeth indicated that it should be sometime here in the beginning of June that they should hear back from Berkshire. So hopefully, if that word has not come through, then it will be imminent.
Okay, and if you could also just check as to, I mean, if it's clear yet who's going to do the trainings and how long it'll take to organize that, that would be really helpful. So we know whether we're going to have to do stuff on our own before that's in place to do a September meeting. In other words.
You bet.
Okay, that would be great. Let me back up a second to the listening session. If anyone has some interest in helping to organize that, that would be great. You know, because I don't need to have my fingerprints on every single thing. In fact, I'd prefer if I didn't. So if there are people that would like to sort of help put that together, we need to do some kind of a general, well, not general, we need to do an educational PowerPoint about affordable housing and about our survey results. You know, I'm not the most computer literate guy out there. So if anyone would like to get involved with that or with just outreach or something, that would be really great, because I think there's a lot to do. Even though it's September now, rather than a month away, I think there's still a lot of work to do to make it successful. So, so any volunteers now, or you can get in touch with me, but it would be really helpful to have some assistance.
I
If it
definitely
helps to,
support that.
I'm sorry, Fatima?
It can help support that, support organizing and also doing outreach.
Good, that's really great.
yeah, and then as a further pillar of support, putting together a presentation on some data as far as what the environment of housing actually looks like in Dutchess County, specifically with the Tri-Town area. So there's already data that
Oh,
should
great.
be available to support whoever would be willing to take that plunge into putting that PowerPoint together.
Good. I did an outline of what I thought should occur on that day in terms of what the section should be, but I haven't started anything in terms of what the presentation should include. There was a piece about the survey and then another piece about housing needs in the area, which, you know, as we all know, are very severe, but trying to kind of communicate the crisis to people, to residents of Amenia that attend this thing. So I think that what I probably should try to do in the interim is try to outline maybe some of the points that we want to make in the PowerPoint or the PowerPoints. Okay, so under further goals, I had talking to landlords, talking to the business community, looking at specific properties and trying to figure out how many units they would allow now and how many units would be allowed once the sewer is in place. And looking at issues in the zoning code that might make a difference in terms of getting affordable housing built, and promoting affordable housing units, which I know Tracy was interested in, has been interested in it for a long time. And then making the presentation to the planning board and the ZBA. So are any of those, does anyone have any particular interest in any of those things and sort of making those happen, or just in terms of the importance of those things? Stacy.
I will reach out to business owners, maybe spiritual leaders, landlords. I have no problem doing that.
Great.
PowerPoint I cannot do.
That's quite all right. Talking to landlords and the business community is a great thing. You should all know, by the way, that the Wastewater Committee has been doing a fair amount of that outreach, and they have gotten uniformly positive response from everyone that they've spoken to that has a business in Amenia. There's a real clear recognition that without wastewater, the town can't grow. And there's also, I mean, we've spoken to some people and we know that, you know, all of the larger businesses are having a very tough time getting and holding employees. You know, that's something that I think there will be support for. So I think it'll be really helpful to document that, Tracy. Stacy. The Tracy Stacy thing, you know, I'm gonna have to give you nicknames or something. Okay, so the Wastewater Committee, I switched to not to unfunded Zoom. I thought, well, I don't need, you know, an hour and a half for meetings, but in fact I do. So I may cut out at a certain point, or we may cut out at a certain point, but that's good because then we only have an hour meeting. The Wastewater Committee would like to use these funds, the first funds from Silo Ridge, or a part of the first funds, that would be $17,600 out of the $50,000, to at last hire their wastewater engineer and start that process. I mean, my feeling is that wastewater is kind of the most important item on the success of housing. We can't do anything more than a renovation of a two-unit house without having wastewater. So, and also I'm on the Wastewater Committee, full disclosure, so I guess I have some, you know, sympathies that way anyway. But apparently in order to support them in that, we have to actually say, since the money from Silo Ridge was specifically for affordable housing they didn't build, that the Housing Committee has first dibs. And since I don't think we're in a place, I mean, other than, you know, whatever money we might need for our listening session, since I think at this point we're not in a place where we have specific funds that we need, my feeling is that we should express to the town board that that we think that the wastewater system is something that they should be funding and using that money that came from Silo Ridge. So I understand we need to have a resolution. I mean, at the town board, there'll have to be a resolution for the town board to vote on. And I don't really, I really run out of steam on whereas clauses. But I think that if we can generally agree and then vote on whether we should request that the town board direct that first piece of money. It's 17,600 out of 50,000, which is the first sign of ridge payment. I think it would be important because if that gets started, there might actually be something on paper in time to get some of the alleged infrastructure money. But we don't have anything at this point on paper. So I am going to propose that we move to make a recommendation to the town board. Their meeting is a week from Thursday. That they use the first piece of that money to hire the wastewater engineer. So if I can I do that, Damien, or do I need to have someone else introduce it? Oh, you're muted, Damien, sorry.
To do that.
We can do that.
You can, the only question I was going to ask is if you have a quorum of board
Let's
members.
see, we have, at this point, we have 6 members, not 7. And so that would be Tracy, me, Tracy, me, you, and Nina would be 5 out of the 6 people. The only person that's missing.
Vicky and I can't vote because we're not.
No. I'm saying Tracy, me, Stacy, Nina. That's 4 out of.
Stacy's not on the board yet.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's a good question then.
Oh, I didn't have my interview.
Right. Stacy's getting an interview. I'm sorry. So it's Tracy, me, and Nina would be 3 out of the 6 that are currently on the board, or 3 out of the 5 that are present tonight. No, that's not right. We're sorry. There are supposed to be 7 members. There are 6 members. Neither Erica nor Jeff are here tonight. So that's 4 members. And we have 3 of there. I'm missing someone, aren't I? Anyway, Tracy, me, and Nina is 3 out of the, is someone keeping better count than me? Do we have a quorum?
Nina, Leo, Tracy, Jeff, Erica, and who's your 6th member?
We don't have one. We're looking for more members.
So we only have 5 official members of the board right now.
Exactly.
So yes, we have a quorum.
Okay, because 3 out of 5. Thank you so much, Nina. I'm so glad you know how to do these things. Okay, it looks like we have a quorum. So I move that we recommend to the town board that they turn over this first piece of money to the wastewater committee to the engineer for the wastewater committee. Tracy had some concerns about one of them being, is this money that could be paid back if a grant comes in later for this? Damien is nodding yes. So we probably will want to say something in whatever gets written up, whatever we write. But I guess we should take a vote then as to directing this funding. So.
Yeah. Leo, I'll just say that your motion, you could just amend your motion to say that move that the housing board recommend that the town board spend money on the tie-in bond proposal for the wastewater committee with the understanding that if the grant is received for that, the housing board trust fund will be reimbursed.
Okay. That sounds great. So if someone will second that, we can vote on it.
I'll second it.
Someone meaning Tracy or Nina. Nina second. So all in favor, which means Tracy, Nina, and me.
In favor?
I'm also in favor, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so that's 3 votes. So it
passes unanimously.
Unanimous.
For those present.
Oh, that's right. That sounds way better. Okay, so that's terrific. Thank you. And other matters, does anyone have anything right now? I mean, does anyone have anything to bring up? I had a couple of things, but I thought I should give you an opportunity first. If anyone has any issues or questions or
I
announcements.
have a 2-second thing to share. It's just a link to City of Kingston. It's a great doc, but specific to ADUs and what Tracy had brought up previously, recommendation 6, which is on page 47, talks about recommendations that this study made to encourage ADU development. So I thought that was
That's terrific. The only other things I wanted to mention is that did the town board approve the money for the planner? They did, didn't they? Or, I mean, was that voted on last time? Vicky and Damien? Wait, I'm getting a no and a yes. So explain, please. There wasn't a decision to allocate a certain amount of money for the planner?
I'm sorry, for AKRF. Yes,
Yeah,
I
for
thought,
AKRF, right.
yes.
So we do have the services of a planner to help us with a number of things. One is to look at the code in terms of potential incentives. The other is to just look at the plan of Amenia and sort of look at maybe ideal places for housing. So I'm hoping that Nina will help us with that, because just in terms of figuring out what our request from them should be, so that we can use their time efficiently. So I hope that's an okay, Nina, since you're an actual planner and we're not. Okay. And the other thing is that the Millerton group is meeting tonight at 7. And if anyone would like to join them, they're going to have Dennis Wedlick, who's an architect who's done a lot of pro bono work for Habitat for Humanity, and is very interested in kind of net zero construction, and they've actually built a number of his units, which are two-family, sort of joined, two families, but they're separately owned. It's very complicated, but anyway, with very low utility bills because of the net zero stuff. So he's going to be presenting there tonight. If anyone is interested in that, I can send a link from Sam. Well, I will send a link from Sam after we get off the phone. So anyone who's able to join them, I unfortunately have another Zoom, but anyone who's able to join them, I think it could be quite interesting. And I guess the last thing is the minutes from the minutes from the last meeting. Did people have a chance to look at them? I mean, I sent them very late today, but did the people who actually vote have a chance to look at them? Meaning Tracy and Nina? Probably not.
I wasn't at the last meeting, so
Oh,
I
right.
didn't
Okay.
really comment.
Then I guess we'll put it off until the next meeting. I mean, we'll have to put it off until the next meeting. I mean, Tracy and I could